Everybody, it's 2020. It's the first video of 2020. Welcome back. Thanks for being a subscriber. Still got a little bit of a cold. Gonna work through it. Hopefully I don't sound that awful. I can't believe that in the year 2020, I am saying that I love a theme made by GoDaddy, and specifically by Richard Tabor, who I've followed his career in WordPress theming ever since I really found themes, really getting into the game of understanding the WordPress community and businesses, and Richard was certainly one of them. And with his semi-recent acquisition of CoBlocks via GoDaddy, he is now the lead person, or one of the lead persons, creating WordPress themes and developing on CoBlocks, which is the reason why I am so in love with some of these themes and the methodology on how GoDaddy is building out WordPress themes for the foreseeable future. Gutenberg, CoBlocks, and GoDaddy's core theme, now called Go, isn't officially available in the WordPress repo just yet. It's hoping to get there fairly soon, but you can download it, and I'll link it below, through their WordPress repository on GitHub. And, well, you can see the meat and potatoes and how the theme is built. If you're a developer, you can see some of the examples. And we're going to talk about building out the homepage of one of them, one of my favorite ones, Keynote. And, whoops, I thought I had it up on the screen. Let me pull it up here. We're going to design this example landing page or homepage using just the Go theme, the CoBlocks plugin, and Gutenberg. And like other videos that I've done in the past, or theme videos that I've done in the past, I just love simplicity. And I think that this is where Gutenberg has the chance to win over page builders. Page builders can do a lot. And if you're starting from scratch on an even more complex project, it's funny how that wheel has flipped a little bit, where when you wanted to do something pretty rapid back in the day, you threw a page builder out there and you got some stuff done, pretty quickly. You weren't developing custom HTML and CSS. But I think page builders have gotten so complex and so advanced, in fact, I mean, for good reason, like Beaver Builder's themer, plugin, and some of the things you can do in there. It's like you don't even have to be a developer to do it, but you still need to spend the time to figure the stuff all out. I'm really enjoying themes that have a high level of customization, with the flexibility of, again, Gutenberg and some of these blocks. Okay, so that's the preface of this video today. We're taking a look at GoDaddy's Go theme, soon to be available in WordPress.org, I think. You might want to check with them. So let's use this as the example, Keynote, and then I'll dive into some of the other features of the Go theme and why I like it and why I might even be using it on a few projects in the future. But this is the layout that I like. Richard and his design taste is something that just relates to me. And I know design is super subjective, and even big page builder themes like Elementor, all the themes you can get from Elementor, they still feel kind of either dated to me, and it's just not my taste. And I know it's all subjective, and you might love the templates you can get right out of the gate with Elementor, and that's awesome. But some of them are just like overpowering, colorful, and too much dynamic stuff going on, where I don't think a lot of people actually, at the end of the day, build a website looking like that. Except maybe if you're like some corporate medical doctor and you're just like, I love to see things move. Like, I think that that's where that market wins. For me, who's somebody who's like, I focus on content, on call to action, and clickable elements to guide people through a website. This particular theme that we're looking at right here, Keynote, I think does that really well. The readability, the text, the white space, awesome. And that's why I like it. So let's go ahead and dive into that homepage. And like I said at the top of the video, we're just using CoBlocks, Gutenberg, and the Go theme. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between looking at this example and showing you what they've done. And then we're going to go into some of the more intricacies of the theme in a little bit. So first thing, we need the hero. So hero, I'm bringing that CoBlocks hero. And I am just going to copy and paste this stuff. Make our lives pretty easy. The about me and contact me. Hope everyone had a great holiday season and into the year 2020. Let's preview this. So if we bounce back and forth, you can see that there is some slight changes. So by default, and this is what we'll notice as we put in all of these blocks. And I'm going to take this video pretty slow, and it'll probably be pretty long. So for those of you like quick stuff, sorry. You can see that the text is larger, and there is a difference in that background color. So how do we adjust that? Well, if I click into the hero, I can switch the heading to H1. So that'll automatically bring that font face a little bit larger. And then under color settings, the background color, I'm going to use this tertiary color. Can't really talk yet. Still kind of early for me. And now you can see bigger and bolder font face. We've got that color that we're looking for, but you can see that our alignment is a little off, right? It doesn't have that text extending a little bit more over to the center. So one of the most beautiful things is you just grab this little utility tool here. Let's just bring it all the way out as far as we can for the sake of this example. And we'll preview that. Boom, there we go. I went a little bit further than the example, so we can dial it back. We can dial it back. That's the beauty of these plugins, right? Of these blocks, I should say. There it is. It's a little bit more in line to what he was doing in this example. And there are some elements in here. I'm going to go to full screen. And you can see when I go to full screen with the hero, obviously, number one, it takes up the full screen. But number two, it gives me some more room to play with. And I think there are a few custom... Yeah, the full screen is just a little too much. Let's dial back on the full screen. Whoops. Is it just large padding that he's using? And it's already on full width. So I think that there's a little bit of custom code happening at the top where he's removing some of the space from the header into that call to action, but that's pretty darn close. And we'll take a look at how we customize the header in a little bit. So that might be able to change things up a little bit. But there we go. That's our header section. Works pretty good. Very easy, and you can kind of play with that spacing, that alignment. You can have build it out to your heart's content right there. So next section, he has this my message. Like this is a maybe you're an author, a marketer, a consultant, somebody who's got this solo site, and you just want to put yourself out there, put your message out there. He has the my message section, and I did previously inspect the code a little bit to prepare for this, and he is using the column blocks. And I'm saying he because I'm assuming that Richard is actually the one that built out these examples, and that's how, and that is the person behind the method of the madness here. So I'm going to use the co-blocks row block. I'm going to select that half and half, and this one that's sort of like a 60-ish, 40-ish kind of thing. And I'm going to change the alignment to wide width. And I'm going to drop in a heading. And the words were what? My story, my message. My message. And then paragraph text. And like I said, I am just going to copy paste this. And it hopefully doesn't pick up too much junk HTML. Let's preview that. Let's scroll down. My message. And we'll tab back and forth to this. That looks pretty good. At first, when I was first doing this, I was just using text, and then I realized once I inspected the code that they were using columns. I guess you could also use the group block as well, but the columns gives you that ability, and this is why I think that this is the reason for the method of the madness is the columns gives you that ability to adjust this, section back and forth. So depending on what you were doing, instead of having to write CSS and these little finite adjustments, if you think in advance and you do use columns, it gives you some ability to adjust that spacing without having to touch the HTML and CSS simply by using this vertical divider tool where you can drag it, back and forth. So that's kind of cool. You could also probably color in some of the sections of a row if you wanted to, right? If you were trying to do some unique design aesthetic, you could do something like that, which is kind of cool as well. And if I go to the row, you can also play with the margins, and the padding here. So let's just do large and see what this does. I'm going to go large margin, large padding. Let's preview that just so we get a feel for it. Yeah, so there it is. So you're able to sort of play with this stuff without having to write that, HTML and CSS. And on the flip side, when you compare it to a page builder, so a page builder, you'd have the ability to adjust all this stuff more visually. So it's sort of a workaround in Gutenberg. Without having this full-on page builder, you can kind of build this stuff out using the row block, right? Which is kind of cool. Moving on to the photo. This should be the easiest one for me. I gotta move my laptop because I can't see the add block button. So if I add a block, I'm going to add in the image, media library, pick this puppy, select that, and obviously by default it's just going to be this little image here. We're going to do wide width, and we'll preview that. We'll see how that lines up or stacks up to this image. So pretty close. I would say it's almost the same, just a different aspect ratio of the photo. Let's move on to the next one because that was fairly simple. You add a photo and there it is. This quote one threw me for a loop. This one actually was the hardest one for me to figure out, even though I was inspecting the code. When we add in another row block, this time, yes, half and half. This time what we want to do is move the smaller margin, the 20%, to the left-hand side and the 80% on the right-hand side. And then I was foolishly, not looking at the code again and going in and using a pull quote. It's actually a block quote that we want to use, or just the regular quote. So I'm going to drop that in, and I'm going to copy and paste this. Write the citation. We'll say I said that. And this is where it got a little funky. This is the things where you have to pay attention to. So if you did it by default, you'd be like, oh my God, this does not look right. When in fact, you are correct. It does not look right. So if I click into the quote block, I go to styles, I have to switch it to large. And this is in the, the Gutenberg sidebar there. And then I have to go back to the row, select the row block, switch this to wide width, and then drag our tool to 20%. You can kind of see that. I'll try to zoom in. Remember to zoom in and edit the video. You can kind of see that 20% marker there is as I adjust this. So 20% on the left and 80% on the right for my quote. So let's go ahead and preview that. And that is much better. Now, I struggled with this one for a while, embarrassingly long, as I was adjusting that stuff. But there you go. Knowing is half the battle, and hopefully this tutorial helps you figure that part out. Let's move on to the featured section. One of my favorite blocks in the CoBlocks library. So we'll go features and add the features. And why I love it is because it takes a lot of critical thinking out. Again, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed the simplicity of using CoBlocks with these themes that support it. Like Chaplin, which is my favorite theme, and this Go theme, which is quickly becoming another favorite of mine. The features, it's just, you have the icon, you have the title, and then you have the supporting text below it. Done. I didn't have to make 3 columns and then have to go in and put an icon and then go in and have to put a heading. When you're building out sites rapidly, these little tiny details, at least in my opinion, make all the difference. And with this block, I've talked about this in the past in other videos, you can adjust the columns and stuff. So if you wanted to get slightly different than what the Keynote theme is doing, you can. And now remember, we have 2 rows of features. So I'm going to go back and add another block. We're going to add another features block. I'm going to switch that to wide width, and we're going to preview that. And one thing I am noticing, which I didn't notice when I was doing this all on my own, is the left justification, and that should be a feature, or an option, I should say, within the block. So let me go ahead and test that. So we'll select the feature, the first features block. Align left. That was very easy. Now, if you don't know, using the Gutenberg block navigation is a lifesaver. You might find yourself pulling your hair out at times trying to really get in the weeds and click a particular block. Don't even bother. You know, that's some of the painful nuances of Gutenberg still. Just go right to the block navigation, you know, and select it there. So that's it. I left justified that. And we are getting dangerously close. Oh, the headers are a little bit bigger, so let's go ahead and adjust that. Oh, that's very easy. We can just do this. Is there a global setting for it? No. So we'd have to actually go in and maybe make these H2, which is, I believe, what the example looks like. H2. Come on, big money. Let's see if I got it right. H2. Let's look at my example. Yeah, it looks right. Maybe an H3. Anyway, we can always inspect that code, but that's how you adjust the feature heading size. Now, the last one I thought was also the hero block. It wasn't. When I inspected the code, what they did here is they used the Gutenberg group block to adjust the background color with a centered header and an individual button. So let's just take a look at setting that up. First thing we want to do is add a group. We will make it full width, and then we'll add in our heading. I won't copy paste. I'll just say call to action, center. We'll add a new block. We'll do button, call to action, center this, align center. Go back to our group block and set that tertiary background color. I hope I'm saying that right. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, folks. Sorry. So there it is, call to action, boom. Now there might be some adjustments being done in CSS on this one. I forget. Maybe I go wide width, see what happens there. Nope. So we definitely got to stay full width. So let's go full width and remove top spacing, remove bottom spacing. That might be the ticket. There it is. I think that's fairly close. If we take a look at the advanced here, no. Border radius, display full width, styles. I can change the style of this block. I really do enjoy some of these features. So not 100% accurate. There could be some CSS in there to tighten this up to look exactly like this call to action here. But that's pretty much it. You know, let's do a recap. This is my homepage. This is their homepage. Pretty darn close. And here's what we're doing. We're using the CoBlocks hero block, right, with an H1 as the header. We're using the row block with 80% on the left, 20% on the right, and we're just using the heading block with the text block for the supporting text. This is just an individual image block, so very straightforward. This is the more trickier of the bunch, where it is, again, the row block with 20% on the left, 80% on the right, using the large quote block. So you have to insert the quote block, go to styles, switch it to large, and that will get you a more accurate depiction of the example. Two featured blocks in two columns with the headings set to H2 to match that up. And you can just stack that. And really quick, just in case you didn't know, you can duplicate blocks. Whoops, I didn't want to duplicate that one. That's the wrong example. If I select it and I go features, duplicate, you can save yourself some time. If you want to add another set of features, you just duplicate the block and it'll just drop it right in. So very, very easy. And then the last call to action, group block with the tertiary color set in the background. Call to action using just the heading block and then just the individual button block for the call to action. So pretty cool, very straightforward, and I do love the design. Now, when I first started playing with this theme, I reached out to Richard. I was like, hey, how do I make these other examples? How do I make these other themes that you have listed on the site? Where do I adjust these fonts? Because generally, here's how it works. You get a theme, you start using it, and you're like, I really love this. I really love how fast the time is saved. But then there's always like that little nuance where you're like, I wish I could adjust the font. I wish I could adjust, some of these other things. And lo and behold, there are some pretty powerful and easy options in the site customizer. I don't know why I just dropped out of that. Let's go back into it. So we'll go through some of these, top to bottom. Your typical site title and tagline, logo and icon, not a big deal. Colors. This is where it starts to get fun because, and slightly confusing if I'm honest, because I didn't get this at first either. Because, when you buy something at IKEA, you're like, I'm not even going to read the instructions, so start putting it together, start playing with it. I think a lot of us are like that, especially with some of these WordPress tools. And I saw the colors and I was like, okay, this isn't what I'm looking for. But design style is secretly hiding entirely different font styles as well. So this is a traditional look and feel. I can go to modern, and now you can see the text and a lot of the design language is starting to change with these underscored menu items. Obviously, the text look and feel is very different. Trendy is another example here where, again, the font things are changing, welcoming and playful. And then within this, quick selections of design styles, you can then change this color scheme by this preset color schemes. And that's all of these. So that's 5 different styles times 4. So that's 20 different look and feels that you could get out of this one theme without having to really scratch your head thinking about which fonts and colors you want to match up. If you do want to change that, you can select the different colors through the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, including the background color if you wanted to. So you can make this one theme feel different across 20 different variants, if you're using this, a lot in your business. The good news is I reached out to him and he said that there's going to be some plans for bringing in some font, styling options directly in here. Whether or not it goes in the customizer, I'm not sure. But he said that wouldn't be until after the holidays. So that's really cool. Second thing that's really cool, the header features. And this isn't something that is unique specifically to the Go theme, and we've seen this in the past, but it is a nice to have where you can quickly change the headers look and feel by a click of a button. Very, very cool. Very nice touch. And again, you can change the background colors and the text colors from here. So I do enjoy that. The footer, which we didn't talk about designing, but this is the way the example is laid out. It's laid out with the menu on the left-hand side and your social on the right-hand side. By default, it's this. So you want to change it to this, where the menu is to the left and those fonts, those socials are to the right. But you have a lot of choices here in the footer, which is very powerful. And I see a lot of themes focus on the header, not so many focus on the footer. And this is a welcome feature in this theme. So I do rather, enjoy that. And if you're looking to add those social icons here, you just put them right in this one social setting. Sometimes themes, you have to create a menu, like a traditional WordPress menu, put all of your social sites in there, and then you use that menu throughout the site. I kind of like having it in its own option panel like this. Like I like having the social here because I know if I need to change something, especially if I'm setting something up for, a customer or another project, I just head right to the social thing. I don't have to go through and make this clunky menu and move it around. So a couple steps saved, at the end of the day is a huge thing for me. Now, last piece of this video of why I think this is a well thought out theme, because not every theme does this, and not every theme does this at a global level. So hiding page titles, because a lot of us build out these themes and we use the page title. You know how it goes, like you set the page title and it's sort of like maybe in the center, and then you're like, but I don't really want that there. And you end up using this welcome message, like welcome to my website. And that's like your intro, but it's really the page title and it's kind of annoying. you can hide the page titles globally. You can rewrite the copyright text right from here, but you can also hide the page title individually as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. If I just go to edit this page, pages, front page, and then right down here in the right-hand column, hide title, check it on or off if you want to hide that title. So that's usually a feature that's overlooked, or you're finding for another plugin. I've seen some other, I think GeneratePress. I can't really remember right now. There is another theme that I recently reviewed where there is a sort of hide button right near the title. That's kind of cool too. I kind of like that. That's a nice touch. But there's a lot of default themes that are out there that just forget to have this feature. Or they have it per page, and sometimes you're like, hey, I just want to wipe this off the map across my entire site. And this theme, allows you to do that without having to install another plugin. So pretty cool stuff. I hope you give it a shot. Richard's a good guy. He's building out some pretty cool things, and I'm sure he has a team over at GoDaddy, so I do apologize for not bringing in everybody's name into this, equation. But again, like I'm really enjoying using Gutenberg and themes that are built specifically for Gutenberg, specifically for this CoBlocks plugin. It's been a real treat to try out some of these things on some new projects, and this Go theme is one that I definitely will be trying on other projects. So plugintut.com/subscribe. Join that mailing list. #1 way to stay connected. Thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 10,000. That's pretty awesome. Well, that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.